Hi. So welcome. Thanks for joining us on February 17th, 2023. I'm Valorie Renee. I'm here with Shawn Sykora, and we're here for our Valorie and Shawn Unscripted show. Today's focus is astrology and energy. We love to find the intersection of the two. So, Shawn, how are you
Yes,
today?
I'm good. How are you, Valerie?
I'm fabulous. And thank
Excellent.
and thank you everyone for joining us, whether you're here live with us or listening on the replay. It is Valentine's week.
Right.
Yes,
Yes.
2023. And hopefully your favorite Valentine was yourself and you gave yourself some self-love, because when we
Right.
love ourselves, we have more love to share and we can actually receive other people's love when we love ourselves more fully.
Right.
So, Shawn,
Yes.
awesome Valentine. I'm excited to be here today. We had some universal glitches or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
things that kind of preempted us over the last weeks, but we are here today live, and I know you have so much to tell us about what's going on.
Yeah. It's a lot. I'm just getting my script up here. Yeah, everything. It's already happening in February, late February. Planets are changing signs, and March. Or we're just going to get into March. Really, it's funny, we planned other shows and we're so busy, all this, there's so much action going on, people are changing, there's lots of change, and that's the constant, and it's cliche and people say that, but astrologically, lots of changing. Maybe I'll point out later on the wheel, but like, just in March, Mercury's going to change two signs, Saturn's going to go into Pisces and not go back into Aquarius, so it's in Pisces for good, and Mars is going to end shadow right in the middle of the month around the 15th. So if you're still frustrated, there's March is just so much, everything's direct now. There's no retrograde planets. And we won't get a retrograde planet until Mercury goes retrograde in April, like the 21st. So, and it'll be in Taurus already, and it'll station almost opposite Uranus, but Uranus is now past 15 by then, and it's not really going to connect until, what do I have it written down? Until June 5th. So that's something to look at. Mercury in our communications and our thoughts. And it's also connecting, third house kind of stuff with siblings in our neighborhood, and close relatives, close proximity. Even though now we're all Zoom around the world, so it's no big deal. But Gemini's kind of different now. But if you're working on something and you're like, it feels so close, and you're into April and you're like, it's coming, and then it's going to go retrograde, and then it's going to kind of reburst in June around the 5th of June. So if you're working on something mercurial, communications and closer proximity, it's going to be a process. So I think that's kind of for people, even though we want to get going and Mars will be out of its shadow the middle of next month, it's still life, and things don't just happen magically. You have to put in the work. There's a lot of backlash on people that are metaphysical. It's like, you can't just dream it. It's like, you got to do some work. So keep doing your work. And another cliche that it's so easy to say as an astrologer or anybody, it's like right timing. It'll fall into place when it's right, but it's really easy to project and tell someone that, but doing your own stuff, it's like, come on. So anyways, there's lots of fluctuation, we're still building, and we will have Mercury retrograde in the 21st of April, so that'll be our first retrograde. So things are moving forward, but there's lots of, I'm old school now, the digital switches of zeros and ones, but in old school, latches and doors opening, closing, physical stuff, it's like there's still a whole process, and it isn't just, we all want magic and it just happened because I thought of it, but it's like, you got to do the work, learn lessons, keep growing. But yeah, it's just, I'll run down the list. It's incredible. Let me show it on the wheel. I'm gonna go crazy and go wheel, screen share. Where's that wheel? Oh, okay, here's our basic wheel. We have, I'm gonna move for me. So this is a thing I made with my buddy Dan at Carol Writers. This is the basic legend and the aspects that relate. Here's the signs relate. Is the planets that are the rulers and the new guys co-rulers, Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune. So this is the thing we use. So if we go to our chart for now, so this is for today, and we could see Pluto's at 29. It's going to go to Aquarius, and that's on the about the 23rd of March next month. It's going to dip in barely, like at 0. I don't even think it gets to 1, and then it's going to dip back into Capricorn.
Oh, Shawn, I lost you. All right. Well, while we're waiting for Shawn to come to log back into the call, let's take a moment and let's just breathe into our hearts in this moment now. And this has been a day of technical glitches. You may be experiencing that too. Things are moving quickly and crazily. So just pause, whatever you were thinking, pause, breathe into your heart, and just let that whole chest cavity expand. And then release, letting it go. Let's do another breath. Centering. This time as you breathe into your heart, breathe in peace and love. Okay, we breathe in, peace, love. Holding that, letting it vibrate within you. And now releasing. And now we come back with a third breath. And this third breath, breathing in, just calm, peace, love, calm, and lots of light. Just letting our heart open and expand as we breathe in now again, this third breath. You are supported in love and light, and it is safe to expand and open your heart. And releasing that breath now. And letting that really settle in. When things can get crazy, we sometimes forget that we have so much spiritual support and we are connected with our soul as well as our spirit. And we just need to breathe into our heart, calm in this moment, and come in to ourselves, trusting that connection, and letting ourselves with our breath tap back in so that we can really step into what we want to do and what we're here to do. Helps us realign and to serve our purpose and intention. All right. Now Shawn is back. He had a loss of power, so he's logging in. But purpose and intention, our purpose in being here and our intention in what we want to do, what we are here and feel driven and want to connect and create. We all have a purpose in being here. Some are working on life lessons, others, it's not the life lesson, but maybe they were here with a particular mission. Because there are those here that there are some, they're not here learning lessons or working things out. They are here to help with the spiritual transition and spiritual awakening that we are all going through. So while we're waiting for Shawn's camera to come back online, he had sent me a note. He had lost power. So his
Hello.
hello, Shawn.
Hello.
He's back. Welcome. Look, it was so strong it knocked out your power.
Don't diss Pluto. He will be back in Capricorn.
Oh, we had a lovely little interlude. You'll be able to listen to it in the
Excellent.
recording. We did some breath
Excellent.
work and just
Good.
connecting with love and light. So now for you, Shawn, breathe into your heart. You're in the same energy we're in as you come back and just
Can't resist
connected,
sound editor joke. Oh
connected
boy.
in light and love.
Let's try that. Let's try this again.
All right.
I'm going to screen share, and I'm disabled. Can I
Oh,
have
I
screen
forgot to
share?
turn that back on. Sorry.
Yeah, it's my fault.
I got the cameras. There we go. We're set up. Oh,
My computer warns me about everything except for if the power's low and it's not plugged in, it just turns off. Thanks, computer. Don't give me any clues.
that's
Okay, can we see this? How's that
Here
look?
we go. Yes.
Okay, screen share. Okay, so let's try this part two. So we're talking about Pluto. Don't disrespect Pluto. There's a whole story. When Pluto was in the later stages of Sag, if we've talked about sometimes the last 5 degrees, basically, there's the galactic ascendant, galactic nodes. There's basically, I give it the orb of 25 to 29 degrees and 59 minutes of Sag, and then the opposite Gemini. That's the side view of our Milky Way. If you ever look up in the sky, you know, they show you the pinwheel, but from our perspective, we're out on the edge of the pinwheel. So when we look at our own galaxy, it's a big, thick thing, and we call it the Milky Way. That's the side view of our galaxy. So when things cross over, it connects with everything. So when Pluto, you know, the newest scientist wrote a book, it's not a planet. Now they call them dwarf planets, whatever. It's in a huge asteroid belt, but it's big enough to be round. And Pluto, you don't even know. It's got 2 moons that are almost its size, and it's working around. It's really hard. You know, the pictures are getting better, but it basically, Pluto, we look at Scorpio, and Pluto is the phoenix. You know, it dives bombs, it explodes, and from the ashes raises a new birth, a new thing. So Pluto used to be the little guy out by himself. He goes through it goes through the last degrees in Sag, and some brilliant scientist who just writes a book and says, wow, look at me. If Pluto's not a planet, it's like, Pluto's a planet. Don't ignore it. But what Pluto did is it ushered in all these other planets, and there are some astrologers, probably mostly newer ones. There's ephemeris of all these planets, or many of these bodies in that belt that circles around. And I've talked about the shape as an egg shape. Anyways, I'm getting kind of technical, but Pluto has lots of buddies, and Pluto gave up its life as a planet to be a dwarf planet. But now it's like, oh, there's many there's tens of thousands of dwarf planets. I can't even say dwarf planet. Anyways, so don't be dissing Pluto. It's at 29. This is 29 degrees, and any sign is extremely intense. It'll turn off your computer if you're not respectful. So anyways, it's about to go in Aquarius and really shake things up. You know, in 2008, it went to Capricorn, and that's when we started bailing out hedge fund banks because they got rid of the Glass-Steagall Act. And you know, some country in the Netherlands or somewhere around there, up in Finland or Sweden or anyways, they bailed out the people, not the banks, and they're doing fine. But we haven't learned our lesson, so we're going to move on to Aquarius, and Pluto will start, you know, giving birth to new things because old things die away, or they're radically changed, modified, rebirth, go through some process. So let's not forget Pluto. So it's a big deal. It's going to dip in, and we'll get a hint at 0. We'll see how big of a hint, but then it goes back into Capricorn at 29, 28, and it won't return till the following year. But then I think it's in Aquarius for good. Did you say something? Yeah. No. Okay. So anyways, back to Mercury. Here's our little buddy. It's in Aquarius right now, and it's going to go into Pisces 3rd of March. So still we're in the middle of the month, but it's speeding up because it'll go through Pisces and then Aries, and then it'll retrograde in Taurus. It gets to Taurus. Well, first it'll go into Aries on the 19th of March. So it's really zooming. Today's the 17th. Here on the 3rd, it'll be in Pisces, then Aries. It's the 20, where'd it go? The 19th? It's the 19th of March. And then it'll hit Taurus on the 4th of April, and it's going to retrograde. See, Uranus is at 15 here. It'll be moving on. It'll be 16, 17, 18, and it's not going to quite hit it. So that's what I'm talking about. It'll come up to it, Mercury, and these are kind of buddies. You know, if we look back to, where'd my other chart go? If we look, no, it got rid of it. Oh well. Anyways, I'm talking about Mercury retrograde, so who knows how accurate it is. Anyways, it's going to be working close to it, but then again, like I said, not till June 5th will it catch up to Uranus at 18, because it'll retrograde and come back. So again, this is kind of wordy, but that's just Mercury. Also, Saturn is going to go into Pisces on the 7th of March, and it'll stay in there. It won't go back to Aquarius. So all the Aquarians and people with Aquarian energy, it's been 2.5 years, almost 3, as you come in and out of the signs, and the frustration and building blocks, and having a rhythm and not jumping ahead. Saturn frowns on that and wants to have nice building blocks, and even if it's invention exponentially, you still, like I talked about earlier, you still have to work on stuff. And that's Saturn. It's the structure, it makes things happen, but it doesn't just poof. Like on Star Trek, the poof. We have 3D printers, you can make a burrito, but it doesn't go poof. It's still, it's got a printer head of goo that makes a burrito. How's that work? Anyways, so, and then so Mars is gets out of the shadow in the middle of the month. So Mars is down here in Gemini, and this is, remember, way back in August, it did retrograde. It went up really high, went back, and now it's going forward, but it's speeding up, and until it gets to the 25 degrees Gemini. So that's where it's stationed, way up here, 25. Every one of these is 5 degrees, these lines. There's 20, 25. So it'll hit that the middle of March, the 15th. Then it will be out of shadow. Then we'll have all the stuff cleansed of that Mars retrograde. Mars, every 1.5 years or so, we have a retrograde. And this one was extremely long. And it's in Gemini, a lot of talking that didn't come to fruition, but it's all, again, practice. We look at Saturn. So that was going on. So that's another thing. By the middle of the March, middle month, it'll be out of shadow, and things will, progress easier. And what else do we have? Venus goes into Taurus on the 17th. So right now we have Venus in Pisces. You can see, oh, I missed Aries. Where's Venus and Aries? That's gonna happen actually that happens this month, very shortly. So it's at 26:55. It's got about 3 degrees to go. So in about 3 or 4 days, the 22nd, give or take a day. I missed that one, and then it goes into Taurus in March, the 15th. So it's moving pretty fast. What else do we have? Sun will go into Aries, of course, around the 22nd. It's just finishing up Aquarius, going to be in Pisces. Again, that's going to happen, around the 19th, 20th of this month. But then, that's a regular Sun thing. And then Pluto, I mentioned, that's on the 23rd when it goes into Aquarius. Whew. And then Mars will be in a Cancer around the 24th. Yeah. And then May 20th, it'll go, yeah, that's when it hits the Cancer. So Mars is going to get out of its shadow. On the 24th, it'll go into Cancer, and then not till May. I think that must be the Leo. So anyways, not sure on that one. Don't quote me. Man, that's a lot. So anyways, this guy's Pluto shifting, Mercury's jamming. It'll retrograde in Taurus before it hits Uranus. Sun's always change every month. We know that. Saturn's going into Pisces permanently. It won't get back to Aquarius for like 27 years, give or take. and Jupiter's already in Aries. It's going fast. It's going to go on Taurus. We'll talk about that another time. And Uranus is still, Uranus goes up about 10 and goes back about 6. So it moves about 4 degrees a year, total. So it's still in the teens for this year. Also, I didn't even say that the nodes, they're at 7 here. The nodes of the United States are, depending, some people use the average, the mean node, they call it, not to be cruel or mad or mean, but the average, or the true node, it's 6 or 7. So the nodes are right now squaring. It's Leo and Aquarius. So the square, it's very prominent for us to look at ourselves and learn and teach. When you cross the nodes, it's learning and giving and taking information, learning and teaching. So we're going to get really examined. And then with that Mars going forward, and it gets out of its shadow at 25, like I talked about earlier, when Pluto went through Sag, those last 5 degrees are big and everyone will hear it. So all of a sudden, when Mars on about the 15th of March, it'll be out of shadow and it's going to broadcast. It's got 5 degrees that are the most easily heard by the masses. So we're going to hear some serious stuff. And, with Pluto, I don't think it goes back to 27, and that's where Pluto is in the US chart. But you could see it's pretty funky, and everyone's like, whoa, is Trump going to run again? Or, and all these people, just my opinion, but it's like they're so dumbed down and only good at getting elected. It's like, when the crisis hits, like the pandemic, it's like they're just not functioning. They have no intelligence other than how to get elected and how to say the right buzzwords that the spin doctors tell them to say, So anyways, happy political. Anyways, everyone's got their opinions on that, but it's going to be really interesting because this is another year of America, like trying to figure things out very, very strongly. So is that enough, Valerie? Do you have any questions? Did that here, I'll stop screen sharing and get back to us. that was a lot. It's just a lot. People just have to know that things are changing, and whatever you're working on, there's going to be continuously new dynamics and new energies and shifting in style. Those changing signs, it's kind of like the style. If you think of signs in in the play, the houses are like the background, whether you're at the beach or in the mountains or at home or whatever. And then the planets are kind of the actors. So all the actors are changing signs. And if you look at like an actor, they could be dressed as, stoic, a philosopher in Rome, or they could be, dudes at the beach, or it could be whatever, moms, it could be, people in court, it could be scientists, it could be, construction workers, anything. So they're all shifting. So that's another thing that, the mode you're thinking of, the looks of it and the style, that's what's going to shift. So keep with your ideas, just know that there's things, progressing to the next one. And the next sign is always, it's got strengths and weaknesses opposite of the last sign. It's like whatever the weaknesses were, the next one. So maybe we could talk about that more another
When
time.
I think the one note, I think the theme right now too is truth coming to light. Right? So like secrets getting exposed, and it's just the energy is moving us toward a more authenticity.
Yeah.
Right?
That
And so
yeah.
for
The 20, if you do the dwads, every 2.5 degrees within the 30 degrees of a sign, every 2.5 degrees, if you divide 30 by 12, you get 2.5 degrees, is like an inner feeling of that sign. So when you're when you're at 27.5 or more degrees, which Pluto's at, you're in the dwad of the sign before, which is Sagittarius, which talks a lot, and it's going into Aquarius, which is truth and knowledge. And Capricorn wants to be stoic, business, right and wrong. We're building blocks, and this is just how it is. And we're gonna pretty much usually copy what people have done before. Sometimes it's innovative, but usually it's like what's tried and true, and where we're gonna, what did Bush say? It's like stay the course, or whatever. Something. So it's very much the Pluto energy between having that last 29 degrees of really pushing that Capricorn change in the style of Sag in a way to, Sag talks about it, put your foot in your mouth, even, it's like, and then moving to Aquarius is like, what's the truth here? As if there is a truth, but we're going to try to get to the truth of knowledge, which is always a process as well. I was talking about, in science, they have theories, and after a while, they come up with a new theory that's hopefully closer than the last theory.
Right. Well, and
Figuring out
you're
the infinite of everything,
right. And sometimes it's hard to just say, oh, it's truth, because if someone
Right.
fully believes something, then they create their reality around that, and that is their
Right.
truth, right? And so we have
Right.
opposing factions, opposing views on two different sides, and yet each is a stalwart,
Yeah.
I think is the word, is so strong in this is the truth, this is the truth,
Yeah.
but
It's
they're
valid. Yeah.
diametrically opposed,
Right.
right? And so, but I think the energy is calling for change, it's calling for lightening
Yeah.
of, all the heavy aspects we carry, and the things that aren't working need to shift. And that
Right.
means whether things break down, systems break down, or new things take the place, and everyone adopts that. However, the transformation comes,
Right.
I, we're moving to a lighter place of truth. And maybe actually what's coming in my head is universal truth. We need to move to universal truth and remember our connection, that we are all one and
Right.
we
We're
are
all
connected.
interconnected. Yeah. And that'll
And
be a lot of the Pluto and Aquarius is like truth and knowledge. Like, what is the truth and knowledge? And, all the studies now, metaphysics, science with quantum, whatever they put quantum in front of, it's like they're starting to figure out, or they do just the wave particles. If you understand, like, electrons, four-dimensional, it moves in a wave and it's a particle, and they'll shoot electrons through a lead shield with one slit, and it'll just it'll come out the slit. But if you do two, depending if you're watching it or not, it'll come through, or it'll make a nodal pattern. If you've ever seen a spectrograph, different lines, that's how they measure stars. They can see,
ah,
however it comes to the spectrograph, how far it is or what material it's made out of, because whether you're looking at a star made of whatever gas, or if you're looking at a gas here on Earth, they have a signature. So that could be interesting, the signature. But as we're learning, what is it with the water droplets? If you're playing Beethoven, or if you're being mad or whatever, they just change form. They look happy or sad, or, so yeah, what is truth? Is there, that's what I try to stay objective. I am a human subjective, but it's like, what is the truth? Like I was just mouthing off about politics and so it's like, well, that might be one kind of truth, but there's other truths. And some people are, there's they connect with what they are, and that's it. You don't question it, and
right.
you have to honor that. You have to honor everybody,
We have to honor that. I mean, it's politics, it's religion. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so
If
many
that's your
different
truth, but it's
ways
not.
that we believe. So just maybe advocating for all of us to move into this idea of universal truth and being open for how that fits with our personal truths, right? And the
Yeah.
vibration. I mean, the energy, it is amazing. We're in this age that we're all learning so much
Yeah, more and
more
more
about
people.
energy.
Yeah.
And, I've used Reiki Energy, uh,
Long time.
20, 24 years now, 23 years, something like
Wow.
that. And 24 years. I'm coming up on my anniversary, 24 years.
Second Jupiter
The
return.
fact the fact that I can send distance healing to someone who's not physically present with me, and that I can actually feel what's happening in their body, and that person can actually feel a release of pain or relief from something or some kind of shift is incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And there's energy workers all around the planet, people working with energy. But at the same note, if we step back and think that, okay, let's say I'm not using my energy work, but it's just my emotions, and I'm intensely angry with somebody, and I'm thinking of that person and how angry I am literally sending that person daggers, if you want to think of like energy daggers,
Right.
right? if I'm going to focus on that anger. And so that's why I think it's also important, not I think, I know it's also important that we work on our own things. And it's okay. Sometimes we are triggered and angry with people or their actions. But then we have to look at within ourselves, what was our boundary? What, why am I feeling this way, to work on
Mhm.
ourselves and, follow through with whatever we're guided to follow through with the person. But just really bringing this awareness that if I'm sending love, I'm sending love. And if I'm angry, I'm sending anger and anything in between. So, um, that it's for some people, it's a big leap to realize, wow, I do have that kind of power with
Yeah.
the energy that I emit and I share with the world.
Yeah. And that's
Right?
with Saturn moving into Pisces, it's like making these dreams and visions more concrete, or learning in steps, graduated people are going to get more adept and have new levels of whatever it is, awareness and stuff. So it's a good time to learn that. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things prominent in Saturn and Pisces, besides music, art, but it's coming to fruition. Of the thing when you have a lot of Pisces or Neptune or Venus and Pisces, I always tell people, try to write it down tangentially, even if you're in a dream state or whatever. It's like, just make some kind of note so you can later on you can read it when you're more in the Capricorn stoic, like practical, the Virgo. It's like, let's write down these details, but give yourself a clue, because in Pisces, it's you can see more than the regular 3D, or you're sensing more, or just more open. But with Saturn's, the worker and the structure that helps us achieve things, it's like he'll be there to make things, all these inventions we've been hearing about, like the AI and stuff, and how trippy it is. Is it real or not? We're talking about what's real or not. There's a that's Pluto's in Aquarius, as the AIs and whatever. It's like, how real is it? Is it real? Can we tell if it's real? The Saturn's going to make some things very concrete. So those are big shifts. And then this is just this year. In the following years, Pluto goes into Aquarius first. Saturn will catch up to Neptune and Pisces, and they go into Aries. And these are yang signs, the air and fire. So Aquarius is air, Aries is fire. And then Uranus now is in Taurus. That's a yin, earth sign. Earth and water, the yins. It's going to move into Gemini. So the outer planets are all going to be in yang. And if you think this speeding up, you're going to feel more with Mars at the middle of March speeding up, because we still have this kind of hindrance. But those things coming, really great advancement, really strong. Yang is more outward and doing stuff. Yin is more feeling and kind of practical, where the yang is more, it's more crazy. It can be too crazy or too much, but that's how it pushes. The yang is the external force, and the yin is more internal. If you're into the polarities like
Mm.
that, so
Yeah.
lots of when these things happen all at once, it's like so much change. It can be too much. Again, they get in the meditation. That might be Saturn in Pisces working on your meditation, or whatever you want to call it, your prayer, or whatever works for you, your silence, connecting with everything. And yeah, I think that's an interesting thing, is what's everything. And Saturn again maybe makes it concrete of the piousness of we're all connected, and making it beautiful and harmonious. People, let's talk about politics. It's like people are just people around the world. It's the government and the leaders and the whatever influences a few people. It's not how the common people around the world are based. They're all nice. Everyone's nice. They're just people just trying to be a people, not trying to
And
and the
and
challenge of having power and running an organization that's a whole country or more.
yeah. And the people all around, our common humanity, we all bleed this, we all bleed blood. We all
Yeah,
feel the emotions of joy or
right.
sadness. We all grieve and we all celebrate. And just remembering that commonality as I'm listening to you, that just dropped in. Um, so there's definitely, everything's happening so fast. So sometimes it is challenging to feel that we are not overwhelmed, to not be overwhelmed by how quickly things are happening. Now, when it's like big change that feels positive, it's
Mhm.
incredible, because it's like things moved into place quickly. And that happens when you're on the right path, it moves quickly. But sometimes we're trying to make change or, get a project underway and things are moving too quickly and it feels like we're not where we want to be. And that's okay.
Right.
Like for me, what I'm working with is just remembering each day. It's like that software update. I need to stop, breathe, and connect with today's energy. The universal energy today, because it's faster and it's a different day than it was yesterday, right? And so if I breathe into the heart for a moment and just say, okay, I'm here, and whatever works for you to speak, I'm here and I'm moving forward,
Right.
step by step. Find something, a saying that works, and just pause, breathe into your heart. I open, and however you connect spiritually with God, universe, higher power, your soul and spiritual team, however you connect, it's like, okay, show me,
Right.
I'm here, help me. Anything
Right.
like that can help with acclimating. Think of it as acclimating to the energy each day.
Right. Yeah, it's moving faster and faster. And then contrary or opposite, if you're ramping down, hold on to something or have a hot beverage or a solid meal, or, hug somebody, or, get a blanket on, or something, do
Yeah.
something tangible that physically you could feel. Yeah, have a sip of the galaxy mug or whatever that is. But have a big mug of Joe or hot chocolate or whatever you're doing, and hot water, hot tea.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's if it is too much, or just as a part of your daily stuff, is like ground. So you are, I am a physical being and I am here in the 3D, and it's like, connect with something that gives you some grounding, because it's easy
Right.
to float up, and there's things like, oh, I want to be the highest chakra. It's like you want to have all the chakras somewhat balanced. you
Right.
know
Oh, absolutely. Or we're thinking too much. It's like, oh gosh, this, that puts us very mental, also up in the higher. So it's making time to breathe and either take a walk,
right.
wash the dishes, take a bath. Find something. Oh, let me mess with this little fidget gadget, or, different things.
Yeah, and I
But
have
just
lots of Aquarius and Virgo, which is the most thinking signs, maybe. It's like, let me think about that. It's like, oh, no, don't do that. Just take a break. It's like, let me think
that's
about
its
thinking
own
about things too much.
right? Go into that rabbit hole. So I made a note
Yes,
while you were at the beginning, Shawn.
yes,
Pluto, coming back to Pluto, and Pluto getting
yes.
demoted as a dwarf planet. Now I
Right,
love
right, right.
Pluto. I'm Scorpio. I love Pluto. And then, oh yeah,
And
Pluto's not a
and just a side note to inject, that Mars is the original ruler of Scorpio. And I like to do the co-ruler. Some people like Pluto only, some people are traditional Mars only, but I give them the code, they're sharing or whatever. But Mars, again, until the middle of March, it's still in shadow. So stuff we've been working on and stuff, and that is for the Scorpio people, or everyone has Scorpio on the chart. Whatever you're focusing on, that part of your chart and that house or houses, it's going to move more. Even though everything seems like it's advancing, it's like there's a catch-up point where Mars will lock in, and Mars is your action, you know, soldier or deed, whatever you want to call it. It's your action dude. That's why it's exalted in Capricorn with Saturn. It's like it likes to be focused to do things, achieve things. That's why it's the best in Capricorn,
ah,
and teaming with Saturn. Yeah. So.
got it. So
Mhm.
with Pluto getting demoted and now being, it's not a planet, then it's a dwarf planet. Um, we grew up with it was one of the main planets, right? The kids
Right.
now growing up is like, oh, Pluto, it's just a dwarf planet.
Who's bat the dinner door, right?
I have a 15-year-old who's kind of in that middle, right? Where he's like, now
Right.
they say it's not. So he has a lot of fun joking about that.
Right. Right.
But what I'm coming back to is you said that
Right.
now there's a lot of other dwarf planets being discovered, right? So Pluto by being demoted, by, if we think of this symbolically,
The Phoenix. Yeah.
Pluto's a planet. Oh no, it's not a planet. That got taken away. You're not being recognized anymore for your value as a planet, Pluto. Now you're just not a planet. Then it's like, well, there's actually dwarf planets. So it created a new category. And now that, well, Pluto is a dwarf planet.
Tens of thousands. Yeah. So the new people, the ephemeris, I think 50,000 they have. If you want to, anyways, go ahead.
So now, well, Pluto, okay, Pluto, you're actually a dwarf planet. We'll recognize you again. You're just not one of the main planets, but you're dwarf planet. But look what Pluto ushered in. Oh my gosh. Now there's what you were just saying, tens of thousands of dwarf planets.
Open-mindedness, yeah.
Yes. And so I was inspired by that in my thinking that it's like to remind everyone, you know, when we're standing up or we're making change or we're just trying to sing our own song and vibration, right? Heart song. I think we all have the heart song. You know, it for some people, it might be rhythm. It might not be words. But your heart calling is like your heart song. And sometimes other people don't understand our own personal heart song.
Right.
Right? Oh, you sing off key when you sing. Does that mean I shouldn't sing my heart song?
You always bring that up.
No, I need to sing my heart song, whether I'm off key or not. It's okay. Well, I just was inspired, Shawn, because it's that reminder that everyone is here for a purpose. Everyone has a calling.
Yeah.
Everyone has a reason. And don't let other people like question it to the point that you question yourself. Because we may not understand the difference yet if somebody is different. Right? But then there is a whole bigger picture going on with the reason for that variance and difference.
And yeah, we're just be unique. And to me, a lot of it comes from the status quo. It's like, you should do this and this is the right thing to do. And it's like, it is whatever you do. You could move to a different culture, you know. It's you know, that's one thing when you go, I'm not really well traveled, but you know, people like, before you go to this country, you should learn a few things, you know. So there's always other ways to be that it's good, you know, considered good or bad etiquette or whatever. Um, yeah, and then I think too, listening to you, what I was thinking of is like when the Pluto, like, okay, it's a planet, and now it's like it's a dwarf planet, but it has all these buddies, and if you're going to pay attention to Pluto, you have to pay attention to all these buddies. So if we think of that as your ideas and the mindset of what I know, you know, what is truth, is Pluto going in Aquarius, it's like, be open, because your one truth, it could lead to many truths, but you have to change it a little bit. You know, the one truth isn't the one truth anymore, but it's like there's more. And like I always compliment people that speak more than one language, because their mind's more open, and there's some words you got, what does that mean in English? And they're like, it doesn't really translate. You know, there's other ways to think and be. So as our minds grow and we learn things and we open up to not just having this, you know, it's yes or no. Like, I love those multiple choice questions. You know, I've written a question and you have to answer a, you know, one of five things, you know, A, B, C, D, E, F, or whatever it is. And you have to pick the answer I gave you and answer the question I wrote, and you don't have any say so. And now I have data, and now I've labeled you, and now I know what you are, you know, or this is the right or wrong answer on the question of the test. It's like, no, it's a dwarf planet, so you're wrong, even though you were right, but you're wrong.
So Shawn, while you were
Yes.
saying the many truths, right?
Mhm.
It's like the collective. Now we have to pay attention to that larger collective.
Right. Exactly.
As you were speaking these words just now beginning, I got such chills. Like, which when like all the hair stands up, I get that when it's a divine truth, when it's like a bigger truth that was spoken.
Yeah. Divine truth. It's all here, babe.
You brought it through. You brought it through.
I'm just
Yeah.
a channel, right? You taught me Reiki. I'm just a conduit for the power of the infinite. But
Right.
yeah, that's to be easy on ourselves and not beat yourself up because I don't know the answer, or I have this answer. And as I learn and grow, you know, that's the joke of Sagittarius or going to college. It's like, if you're really learning, you learn that there's more questions you have to answer, and then you maybe answer those questions, and then those just comes to more questions. So, you know, there's a thing of it. explaining the universe is expanding. It's like your knowledge base. The more you learn, it's like, oh, this one guy had a great thing, I forget, but he's like, yeah, it's like a big balloon expanding, and the more I learn, the bigger it is. So there's more, and not to be big ego, but just to be open to more things and more possibilities. Because when you're more open, I think you're closer to being in the now. Not the fear of thinking of the past or the future, but living in the now. If you're open to more things, I think you can be more in the now, and that allows you to have a I don't know what you call it, a fresh mind or an open mind to like use different tools, that you have different truths or different things, and be more specific and understand what while your senses are picking up, that you can adapt to it. And if you're more open, it's like you see clearer. My eyes are more open,
Right.
or my
And
brain or whatever.
yes. And then that um remembering as we are following our heart and our path, and sometimes for some that can feel a little isolated or alone. We may feel different, if
Right.
especially for those of you who are bringing through something new, and bringing something different. Things are changing, which is part of our evolution. Everything's changing, and some have big callings, and some are bringing forth ideas that are new. And people sometimes can be scared. Well, humans are often scared of change. They sometimes need help adapting, but the idea is, and think of Pluto, and just as things evolve, it's like there are so many others out there. And so as you answer your calling, follow your heart, speak your higher universal truth, with connecting with the higher vibration, the spiritual aspect, to bring through that higher truth. As you do that, there are others. You may not know them, but when you put up that vibration, put out your vibration, they'll be drawn, you'll be connected. We have the computer, we have Zoom, to connect us universally as the one collective. And so just remembering we are all connected, there is a unity and a harmony, and we get drawn to our spiritual collective as we keep putting our vibration forward, and our heart and our love.
Right. But it's a brave thing too. It could be scary. It's new. This country is a cancer country. Cancer likes the old tradition. New stuff is very scary. But again, the cliche of change is the one constant. It's like it's changing. And now Pluto, our sun's in Cancer for the U.S., but the moon is in Aquarius. So Pluto, it's in later degrees, depending on the chart you choose, whether it's 18 for the Sibley or 27. It's 27 for the Sibley and 18 for, anyways, depending what ascendant you give it, what time. It's typically later degrees in Aquarius. So that is another thing of changing in this country, and expressing yourself. New things happen, new business things and whatnot, and Pluto will definitely change that. So if you're doing something that isn't even invented yet, or it's your original thought, that's very Aquarian, or it's very old, there's people don't realize how much plagiarism there is in the world. It's like they'll find old ideas, whether archaeology or an old book or whatever. It's like, bring it. Aquarius can be the very oldest or a very new innovation, a new combination of something. So whatever you're working on, it's pretty much covered. So it's all good, and it'll lead you to whatever it leads you to. And if you test it and try it, if it doesn't work, then you'll do something else, or you'll modify it or something. But
Right. We adapt. And
yeah.
so as we close, so we are out of time. As we close, let's close with a few breaths to kind of tie in this, because this is exciting, all this change.
It's
Um,
wear your seatbelt. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Fasten that seatbelt.
Mind open. Yeah.
The only
Pencil and
constant
paper. Make notes.
the only constant is change. That was in my mind when you were talking a bit ago too. After all that chill went over, like, ooh, Shawn just spoke a universal truth.
Oh.
Um, it was like the constant is change, and
Uh-huh.
so we either flow with it or we resist it. One of those paths leads to rapid transformation, and the other leads to a very uncomfortable place of being, and in the end, as we know, especially Star Trek fans, resistance is futile, and so we adapt. So it's better to move to our love and
Yeah.
embrace the change in the best way that we can. And that
Right.
takes work every day, and we can do it. So focus to our heart. Yes,
Yeah.
Shawn.
And again, all this change we're talking about, people change at different times. Your charts activate at different times, and you'll know stuff, and you don't have to change that second. Things, it'll come to a boiling point, but just kind of recognize, and in your process, Pluto's very slow. It only goes up like 3.5 degrees, back 2 degrees. It only moves about 1.5 degrees a year, so it's very slow. But it's the most change, and it's slow like that, graduated. But you know, keep a log or whatever. You don't have to change, but notice things that are changing, or maybe ideas or something. You just have keep writing old style, typing, whatever you're doing, full, just dictate the automatic texting. But you know, just work at it at your own pace, and you don't have to change. Some people just want to change. Other people, it's like, I don't want to change at all. But somewhere, we're all somewhere in the middle. I think at some point you're going to change, but try to keep track in some way that registers with you as you notice things changing, and what are possibilities. Just dream. It doesn't cost anything. You don't have to force yourself. Some people think, oh, I think of one thing and it has to be that way, or I think of a thing, it's not going to change anyways. But just whatever, work the material, work your thoughts on what's coming to you, however it works best for you, and you'll find a direction in time.
Yes.
Yes, or
Great.
Saturn says in time. Yeah.
In time. Yes. And remembering that even though sometimes we may feel alone, we're not alone. We're not. And so with our heart, focusing in the heart, we can tap into that greater collective of those. The word affinity is coming into my thoughts. Those that, we are in the same, when you make a vibration and the tone, if it's I think guitar strings do this, if I'm not mistaken, or chords, like if you strum one, the others harmonize with it. And there's science around that, but let's come to our hearts.
Okay.
Just bring your awareness to your heart center. And with our first breath, we're just going to open our hearts and just focus on gratitude. Just being grateful for this moment, being grateful for everything that brought us to this moment now. And whether it was painful, whether it was joyous, we still give thanks because it's all part of our process. So we breathe now, breathing in a full deep breath into gratitude. And then releasing your breath, you just let go, release. We're going to come into our second breath. With our second breath, as we breathe in, we're going to breathe in now love. Love for ourselves. And as we love ourselves more fully, it allows us to love others around us. It allows us to receive that love of those who are giving it to us. So just breathe in the pure universal love, letting that activate all our cells and atoms. And then releasing that breath. And that's a nice vibration to be giving off, that universal love. And now as we come to our third breath, I'm getting courage and confidence. So we'll breathe in these vibrations of courage and confidence. And with this, it allows us, as we breathe into our heart, the courage and confidence, this allows us to be where we are, to trust that what we need is coming as we tap into this energy, and that we are open, we will keep ourselves open to take the steps when we know what the steps are. With courage, we'll take the steps. With confidence, we'll just trust and we'll know that our timing is right, or we see the opportunities that are presented to us, or we just know internally things come to us in many forms. Sometimes it's just an inner knowing. Sometimes it's a nudge from a friend, but it comes to us that we know what we need to know when we need to know it. And releasing the breath again. Gentle breath, integrating and releasing that breath, bringing your attention fully present. If your eyes were closed, you can open them, coming back into this moment. Remember, you were loved. You were loved by so many around you. You were loved by your spiritual team. And Shawn and I send you love as well. Love and light. We're so happy that you're here with us, either live or listening on the replay, or watching on the replay if you're with the video version. And we will be back again next month. It'll actually be St. Patrick's Day.
Or we might even do the last.
March
Oh, we might do the
17th.
last. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. And possibly the last Tuesday of February. That one
That's the last. Yeah, that was a question.
Yeah, there may be something that preempts that one, but normally we shoot for the last Tuesday of each month at 8 p.m. Pacific and the third Friday of each month at 11 a.m. Pacific. Sometimes the energies, and there is a lot going on, and so those sometimes get preempted. But we're always sending love. You can find us. I'm Valorie Renée. I'm at Topaz Visions on social media and topazvisions.com. And this is Shawn Sykora, and he's at Shawn's Astrology on Facebook. Yeah. And that's Shawn spelled S-H-A-W-N if you're on an audio listening. The schedule for our shows, you can link to that through topazvisions.com, the classes and events. So again, thank you for being with us and sharing your heart, sharing your time. We send you with love, or leave you with love and light.
Yeah, thank you.